God, no, trust me. 2020, hey?
That actually made me nearly spit out my tea.
Uh-huh. Hola from Ibiza for an edition of Café Diem with your host, Michelle Reed, and my special guests all the way from London and all the way from Ibiza, Vicky Godfrey and Kate Scott. How are we, ladies?
Good
Morning.
day.
Morning.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. So we have the founders of DNApal in the living room, in the house, and we are going to get deep into DNA testing. And then we're also going to talk about vitamin D as well. So for those of you who don't know Vicky, she is a well-known lady on the island. She is a nutritional therapist, and a yoga teacher based in Ibiza. And then we also have Kate Scott, a nutritional therapist specializing in nutrigenetics based in the UK somewhere, Kate, right?
Actually, South Africa.
South Africa? You in South Africa?
Yeah. I can tell by the sunshine coming through the window.
Wow, I had no idea. I really had no idea. I could tell by the accent, but I didn't actually know you were based in South Africa. Incredible. How are we doing, ladies?
Excellent, thank you.
Good. So first thing we always ask esteemed experts on Café Diem is what's brewing. So what's in your cup this morning?
Well, do you want to go on? You go first, Kate. Go on.
Well, I'm an hour ahead of you guys, so I've already had my 1 cup of coffee that I'm allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having a rooibos tea, which is a very South African drink, nice herbal tea. I do love it, and it's not caffeinated, so it suits me well because I have the caffeine-sensitive gene.
Cool. I'm looking forward to talking about that. And what about you, Vicky? I know I kind of have an idea because we did meet each other here September 2nd. So I have a feeling. What's in your smoothie bowl? Or is your smoothie mug?
Yeah. Well, it's not the best colour though, is it? It's a bit of a browny murky from all the powders. Yeah, so it's got bananas, spinach, celery, kale, homegrown kale, can I add?
Mm-hmm.
Powders, a detox mix, a disco mix.
Cool.
My brain. Yeah, I love the
It's a lot.
Brilliant.
Does the disco mix have any mushrooms?
No, not yet.
Coming straight from Ibiza to your mushroom.
Yeah.
I
have to say, the disco mix, I've used it a couple of times with DJs on the island for helping them with their stimulants problem, and it's been brilliant. And they managed to do a whole night, a whole set without their usual stimulants. Brilliant. But especially if you're mum on the run and you feel tired because the children are up in the night, disco mix helps me get through the day some days. It's brilliant.
Cool. Shout out to Verity from Ibiza Superfoods for your disco mix.
Totally.
Awesome.
Love it.
Super clear, ladies. So we're going to move swiftly on from our morning beverage because I really want to get deep into DNApal. So we have, as we joked about, we have the DNA and we have the PAL. So really, in layman's terms, let's say, how was this born and what exactly is this, ladies? What are we going to do today?
I'll let Vicky, you take this one.
Okay. So I literally had done a DNA test. I was stood in Tesco's with all the results going around my mind, but still not understanding them, and being a nutritional therapist. And I was actually in the fruit and vegetable aisle looking around going, can someone just tell me what to eat for my DNA? Because the reports, there's a lot of information in the reports, which is fantastic, but you've also got to try and remember that and action it. And this is literally when I phoned Kate up. Kate and I studied together. We did biochemistry together.
Mm-hmm.
And I phoned Kate up and just said, DNApal, I've got this idea, this is the name, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to just guide people with meal plans, shopping lists for their actual DNA. And what did Kate say?
I said no brainer. It's actually interesting because Vicky was always the really loud girl at the back of the class and I was the nerdo in the front, quite literally. And And I'd gone on after we graduated to specialize in nutrigenomics. It's something I've been doing for about 5 or 6 years, but in the more static form. So people do the test and then they receive their results as like an emailed PDF, which is what loads of the companies out there are doing. But it had always bothered me that there are a few things in doing that very static method that doesn't really get the full extent of what we can do across. So for one thing, in that form, you can't introduce anything personal about the person, even though we're looking at DNA, which is probably the most personal individual information that you can get. But what you can't look at is, what kind of a diet a person is currently following, or their age, what kind of stage of life they're going through, and that kind of thing. So bringing it into an app means that we can continuously do that. And as people's life stages change, or their needs change, or their diet changes, their stress levels change, so will our advice adapt to that. So it's not just like you're getting this one-off piece of information that you read and then you put in a drawer and never look at again. It's actually an interactive, continuously evolving piece of advice and information that can go with you throughout your life. So hence the DNApal, to try and be with those users for life.
Wow, exciting. And how far advanced are you on the app? Is the app launched yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're in development of, I don't know if we would still call it our MVP, because we developed an MVP this time last year that we used for a lot of beta testing. And
That's
then
minimal viable product, just in case anyone doesn't know what MVP is.
Then we received some funding, so we actually managed to take the MVP slightly further. So what we're calling kind of phase 1. And that is, we're looking to launch that in Q1 next year. So it's in the latter parts of development, but there's still a few moving parts that we need to get sorted out.
Still a few little hills to climb and go over.
What would life be without hills to climb?
Have a few exciting features. We want it to be more than just the DNA reporting, even though that's hugely valuable on its own. We want to include some kind of gamification so that people, when they're taking our advice, can interact with the app, and it makes doing kind of what might seem like boring things, like reminding people to drink more water or whatever it is, but to make that a little bit more exciting, and they earn points for doing that. Cool. So to just keep them engaged.
Very cool. Awesome. So clear on that. Now, for people who don't even have any idea what we're talking about, again, in layman's or in a nutshell, what is DNA testing and what are we going to be doing today? So using DNApal, I will do this. What is it? What is it for people who don't have any idea what it is?
Okay, so when we test in your saliva, we're looking at the DNA that's housed within the nucleus of your cells. We don't test for the full genome, so that's a different type of testing. We're looking at across the board 700,000 different data points on specific genes that we know are impactful on health one way, and that you can impact the way that they behave through your diet and lifestyle interventions. So obviously we don't report on all 700,000. That's huge. The research is not behind all of those. We report probably on about 70 to 80 of those. But the idea of capturing kind of a broader amount of data points is so that as research evolves, people never have to retest because your genes don't change. So it's not like a blood test where you're testing for certain levels of things that can fluctuate depending on what's going on. Your DNA code is very much preset, and it's more the activity of your genes that can be influenced rather than the actual genetic code. So people really should only ever have to do a DNA test once in their lifetime, which is why we try and gather as much data that one time as possible. And then we're able to update the app as new research comes through because we've already kind of captured that data about people.
Fascinating. I had no idea. So that's very, very fascinating. So once you do it once, you shouldn't have to ever do it again. Very cool.
But that's not to say that with some of the other providers, they might have to do it again, because some of the other providers do not catch the amount that we catch.
It's a brilliant segue, Vicky, because I want to know what makes DNApal special in comparison to what's already on the market.
Me and Kate. No, I'm joking.
First, no, but that's definitely one thing for sure.
Yeah. I think the advice coming from 2 nutritional therapists that know what works in clinic, and we're applying a lot of our clinical advice to the app, which we know works on a one-to-one basis. So it'd be lovely to see it working on a more wider basis. You know, we can help a lot more people globally as well. We're 100% ethical. We do not sell the DNA data on. It gets destroyed after your reports are run. And Kate and I feel very strongly about that, because we don't want to do with other people's DNA what we don't want done with our own DNA, you know. And when I did use other providers, I always non-tick the research box. So I wouldn't tick it. One company, I went completely anonymous, because I had the same concerns that other consumers or clients have now, you know. We regularly get asked that. So no, Kate and I feel very strongly about that.
Cool.
And about giving people an ethical choice on the market.
Also, I'd say that our advice is very much, or the information and advice is very much focused on so what do I do now? I think a lot of the test providers out there, and I think what most people equate DNA testing to is actually more for the heritage genealogy side of things. That's not something that we're looking at all, even though kind of the DNA is the same. Our spin is very much focused on nutrigenetics, nutrigenomics, which is the interaction between the genes and your diet and lifestyle, and it's a two-way interaction. And our advice is very much well, this is what you have genetically, so this is what we recommend you do in your life. Whereas I think a lot of test providers just say, well, this is what you have genetically. And then people are left having to go and do a lot of their own research. And believe me, I've been doing that research for 5 or 6 years now. It's confusing, it's conflicting, and especially if you don't know a lot of the terms and, you know, and the chemistry of it, it's really difficult. So we've kind of taken all that slog out for people, and we're trying to make it really easy and relatable. We've done the boring science work. So we're just giving you so this is what you need to do.
Okay, cool. I like it. I like that a lot, because there's a lot of things out there that exactly the biomarkers, but then they don't really tell you how to do anything about it. So it's a very similar thing, isn't it? Cool.
And even as trained professionals, you know, we find that difficult. You see all these biomarkers, but you have to join those dots for people and tell them, okay, well, this is what it means, and these are the reasons that might have happened to you, or this is why you might be presenting with a certain symptom. And so because of that, we recommend you should be trying this.
Cool. I like it. Cool. Excellent. So on that one, we're going to unbox a DNApal. So for everybody who is inquiring what you get in your DNApal, let's see. So we're going to open it up here.
Early Christmas present, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This is a long time coming, Vicky, because like I say, we saw each other on September 2nd when I originally lost my tooth, and I figured I'd go toothless for you today as well. Cool. So we open up the box, and I can see instantly that we have some paperwork. So I have a customer consent form.
Yep.
Which I will fill out after we've done this. And then I also have the instructions on how to use the DNApal and how to do the swab. But luckily I have the founders here, so I don't even have to read the instructions. I can just get them to tell me what to do. And then I also have, imagine that, I have a swab. And then of course, there is an envelope, whoops, pardon me, dropped something there, an envelope with, I believe has postage already included.
It does. From the UK, but not from Ibiza.
No problem. So we're special in Ibiza. I don't mind paying for the postage from Ibiza for the privilege of living in Ibiza. It's no problem. But for everybody watching from the UK, all you have to do is put your test into the envelope and then send it into the post, and it's complimentary from the UK. So for the people who really need it, right? That UK. Cool. Awesome. So I am going to open the swab, and then I'm going to swab. So let's have a. And I think I joked about that I would do the swab through the hole in my tooth there. Not going to do it today. Okay, so don't touch anything except the top.
Yeah. So you don't want to touch anything with that swab except the inside of your cheek.
Cool. So make sure that I open up everything nice, and I got this little guy out as well, so that I don't have to touch it. So it comes with a little
Yeah.
Almost what I would call a little beaker.
Yeah.
And then of course this. So I'll
Yeah.
place this here and put this in. Okay. And place this down.
Okay. So what you want to do is hold it in whichever hand is comfortable. And then with the one side on the same cheek, go in circular motions inside your cheek for about 30 seconds.
Okay, cool. So one side and then the other side.
And then the other side. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
yeah, it's a good look. I'm actually going to screenshot this. I know this is kind of weird, but we often need pictures of people swabbing. Do you mind?
Oh.
You actually look super cute doing it.
I'm trying not to let my tooth take over or my gap take over.
No. You just look brilliant, Michelle.
Some people pay for that tooth gap, you know.
Oh, God. No, trust me. 2020, hey?
That actually made me nearly spit out my teeth.
Okay, so.
Okay, that should be good. And then switch. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, so since you have one of the older kits, so what you need to do is just put that into there. See where there's a little groove and just
cool.
And then put in the little capsule thing goes in there, and then the lid goes on the top. You should also somewhere in there have a barcode. There should be 3 barcodes.
So this goes in here?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And this goes here?
Yeah.
Yay, your sample's done. Brilliant.
Okay, so somewhere in there you should have a barcode sticker.
Okay.
And then you just need to
that's what it felt, yeah.
And then you just need to stick one of those barcode stickers onto the actual tube, and then one of those barcode stickers goes on the consent form where it asks for your unique ID number.
Cool. So,
and again, this helps you to stay anonymous.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's something the lab never ever knows your name. Okay. The lab only ever knows that unique barcode ID. So only we know who the underlying customers are.
Okay, cool. And then just to confirm, we have a unique barcode number here, and I'll stick my little sticker there. Yeah. And then there's a third one. Does that just stay for me?
Just an extra in case.
Cool.
In case things go wrong.
Awesome. Okay, super. All right, awesome. So again, good.
Cool.
And that as well. Awesome. So that was taking the test.
Yep.
Now I've taken the test. I will get this into the post as quick as possible. But what are the next steps after taking the test? I'm pretty interested to know.
So your sample will go to our lab. It takes about 2 weeks for results to be ready.
Okay.
In the interim, before the app is launched, you'll receive the usual like PDF type reports. But once the app is launched, you'll be able to link with your DNA data directly through the app. That information will pull through. You'll be able to read your results kind of dynamically in the app. You'll be able to answer a set of personal questions, which is what I kind of described in the beginning. So we'll be asking things like age, weight, alcohol intake, caffeine, and all that kind of stuff. So basically, it's all questions that are relevant ultimately to the outcomes and advice that we'll give. And then you'll be able to look through the different kind of genetic results, and that will have follow-on advice and action points. It'll take you through to our cool little challenges that Vicky's doing at the moment.
Cool.
We're going to offer bespoke meal plans, so personalized meal plans. People can book one-to-one consultations. So that's something that we've found people really love. So even though we've tried to make the information as easy and relatable as possible, people still seem to want to do the one-to-one consults just to really kind of get the bigger picture and chat about any symptoms that they're actually experiencing and things like that. In phase 2, so I kind of spoke about how we were doing the development in phases. In phase 2, we're planning on having a whole online store where we'll make recommendations for specific things like supplements. We might do like meal boxes, just all sorts of different products that are helpful to health that we like.
And things, this brings us to one of the questions that you have, Michelle. One of the other things will be the vitamin D tests. So you'll be able to look at your results, see whether you have an increased need of vitamin D, which I do. Great, I'm living in Ibiza, but just got my blood test results that showed that I was borderline vitamin D deficient, and I'm in the sunshine every day, no sunblock. And so really, living in a sunny place and combining my DNA, knowing I have an increased need, and then bringing my blood test results in and seeing that I am borderline deficient. It really, when it all ties in, and now I know what work I've got to do over the winter. There's less sunshine. So I am supplementing now, which is something that I wouldn't normally do living in Ibiza, but bringing it all together, I can see that I have an added increased need of supplementation. So yeah, and again, coming back to the challenges that Kate mentioned, there will be like a get your vitamin D on challenge where you have to go outside every day and get that sunshine as well as the right foods, and we'll guide you through those right foods to eat as well to make sure that the conversion of the vitamin D happens.
Cool. Which is interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up, Vicky, because I as well, when I was tested for vitamin D, I say vitamin, this year, I as well was borderline deficient living in Ibiza. That was really surprising. So I'm really looking forward to getting this back, and so that we can discuss this. And I would love to talk to you both about my results once we get them back. If we can, I'd like to do a live on that, because I think there would be a lot of people that will have some questions about this as well. But talking about vitamin D, so I think everything with DNApal is clear for the moment. Like I say, we'll pick this up in a second part once we get my results. But what I do want to talk about, and I think one of the things that has really my biggest truth this year is the fact that so many people are deficient in vitamin D. And that we aren't, globally, we weren't talking about it pre-COVID, were we? Like, it was just kind of brushed underneath the carpet. And going back to the UK, BBC releasing this article on the 28th of November about free vitamin D pills for 2.5 million vulnerable in England. Do you think it should just be for everybody, or does it really depend on whether you can, the bioavailability of the vitamin D, or what's your kind of guidance on that? Because it's a hot topic and I really want your both expert opinions on this. So 1 and 1, please.
Okay,
go for it.
Okay, so my thought, I see a lot of clients, or I speak to a lot of clients in the Northern Hemisphere, so mainly UK based. And then I speak to a lot of people based here in South Africa. And obviously the sunlight exposure is pretty different. The genetic inheritance to have kind of lower receptivity to vitamin D is spread across kind of all races wherever they live in the world. So that's only really one factor. But if you think about vitamin D is very difficult to find in the diet. There are some foods that include vitamin D, but it's not prolific like a lot of the other vitamins. So it's something that has to really be done by getting direct exposure from the sun, and it needs to be strong enough UVB rays on the skin that the conversion happens naturally within you. So during the winter months in the UK, the UVB rays are not strong enough at all. The interesting thing about the human body is that actually vitamin D stores in the liver for up to 4 months. And I think that's the body's way of trying to help people get through the winter. But that means that people have to have had high enough vitamin D levels up until that point in order for the body to do that. So that's like the best case scenario. If somebody was living completely healthily, getting the right exposure, then actually they should be able to live, throughout the whole year without having to supplement. Unfortunately, in this day and age, it just doesn't happen. So either because people feel that they have to wear loads of sunscreen, or they're just not getting outdoors like they should. I think there are quite a few reasons. There are some certain ethnic groups that are more at risk. So the darker the skin, the more difficult it is. They need longer exposure to sunlight. And I generally say to all my UK clients that they should supplement through the winter at least, if not all the time. You do have to be a little bit careful with vitamin D because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. It is one that you can overdose. So the water-soluble vitamins, you can't really overdose on them. Whatever your body doesn't need, you will excrete. The fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A and vitamin D can actually be detrimental to the liver if they're in excess. The chances of that happening are quite slim, but it is a possibility. So it's better that people test to know where they sit. But definitely, especially for people in the UK, I would say through the winter months they should be supplemented.
And then if you take the test, I mean the tests can be as cheap as £25. So that's not a big expenditure to do at home for £25 to test. And then we can guide for a shorter period of time, perhaps a higher dosage to get those levels up, a therapeutic dosage to get those levels up quicker. Then test again, check where those levels are, and then we can go to a maintenance dose to avoid any risk of toxicity. Because I've seen it with the GPs. The GPs in the UK put a client on 20,000 a week, which breaks down to about 4,000 a day, just under, if you did 7 days at 21, 3,000 a day. But I don't know whether it was because she was taking 20,000 in one go, but she was showing signs of toxicity at that level. And I don't know whether it was because she wasn't taking it daily and she was just taking once a week and it was a larger load in the body. I'm not quite sure why the doctors prescribe it weekly rather than daily, whereas we do smaller doses daily. So I'm not quite sure.
Interesting.
The other thing that's really important, just to add to anyone listening, is D3 with K2. So you've got the correct cofactors and you've got the correct type of vitamin D. Because you will find, in places like Holland and Barrett's and places where perhaps you shouldn't, there's certain brands that aren't so good, they'll just bonk out vitamin D and you're not quite sure what you're taking. So do read the labels, do check that it's 3 and K2.
D3 and K2, which I'm finished. I probably need another bottle. But
It'd be good to test to see if your levels have come up.
Definitely. And
just keep an eye on it. And it's the same with the B12, isn't it, Kate, that we look at the B12. And again, rather than just, run off and buy it because you've got an increased need to B12, rather than just run off and start taking it for the sake of it, actually, let's look at your levels and see if your epigenetics and your lifestyle choices and your diet choices have made you more deficient or not, and where we can tweak things to make you better, you more healthier.
Cool. I would talk about what you recommend as a dosage, but I think we're going to save that. I really do. Like I say, I'm going to send the test away. I'm going to get my vitamin D levels checked. Then I want to continue this conversation because we shouldn't stop talking about vitamin D. We shouldn't stop. One thing I do, I have a question for you both. Magnesium in relation to the absorption of vitamin D, necessary, isn't it, biochemically?
Yeah.
And that's, again, something that we're not really talking about too much. But
magnesium is a huge one for loads of biochemical reactions.
300 to 400, right?
Your body uses it up so quickly that it's something that's really important to make sure that those levels are staying up.
So 400 functions, Michelle.
400
bodily functions that magnesium is used for. And stress is the biggest depleter of magnesium. So you have one stressful situation, magnesium gone. So again, even speaking to GPs in London, they do recognise there's a need for magnesium supplementation as well. Or some of the GPs that I've spoken to in London have recognised that need, and some absolutely all assume, again, with the vitamin D, that everyone is magnesium deficient because it's not in the soil and the pesticides are in the soil. So we just don't have the same levels of magnesium that we used to in our food. Which is quite a problem, really, considering if it supports 400 functions in the body.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. And I have a feeling that would be why my D3 levels were low, is because I really think I'm deficient in magnesium. And the reason I think this is because I suffer terribly with period cramps.
I wanted to bring that up, but I thought it would be a little bit off topic. But actually, magnesium is really important for helping the body eliminate estrogen. Mm-hmm. So having high estrogen is one of the reasons behind the cramps, but then low magnesium also causes your muscles to cramp. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And one of my biggest truths in 2020 was I missed my calling as a biochemist, because the amount of information that I've absorbed from this year being locked down and, health and that sort of thing, I definitely miss my calling as a biochemist. Not saying I couldn't, just not sure I want to go back to school for 6 years.
Too late.
But yeah, so I'm glad to have you ladies on as experts as well that I can talk about this with. So we are going to wrap up with one final question to each of you, or collaboratively, whatever you decide, is what is the one thing that you hope for in 2021? So looking ahead to a brighter future.
No, you go for it. You've got the answer.
Okay, so I think after such a tough year, and there's so many negatives that people can say, but one of the positives I think that has come out of this is people are starting to really take a look at their own health and to take their health into their own hands, not just relying on, doctors or Googling things, looking things up on the internet. People are really trying to research properly their own health. Mm-hmm. So I hope that through us being able to get this app, out, it will make the platform of our one-to-one clinic environment where we're able to share this kind of information with people one-on-one, but to do that on a much broader scale, and just to spread the message of health and really empower people to be able to do that well and make themselves strong and healthy and happy again.
And I think the fact that it's backed by science and there's so much evidence, and even all of our evidence is going into the app as well. So you might get the advice, but you might be a bit geeky and you might go, well, hold on, I want to see the evidence that they've given this advice on. So, all of that will be backed up into the app as well, which we hope will encourage the other more cynical people who don't believe in all these hypes and fads and things, to convince them, actually, this is a really scientific way to support you on your health journey and to bring you back into balance. Mm-hmm. Because again, it's all about homeostasis, and it's all about, bringing that body back into balance and that biochemistry back into balance.
Yeah. Awesome. Excellent, Kate. I'm with you 100%. One of my hashtags this year has been honor your health. And I think it's really important that we are in charge of our own health. Yeah. And one of the headlines on BBC today was the UK is going to start to roll out the Pfizer vaccine next week. Yeah. And it's no, let's just you utilize what people are giving us and understand what our body needs and our DNA is saying, and just honor your health and do it yourself, right? Yeah. So no, I totally agree. And DNApal sounds like it's gonna have a very, very great 2021, and I will help you with that for sure.
Thank you.
Awesome, ladies. So where can people find you? So if they're intrigued, they want to know more, they want to follow you, they want to buy, tell us how they can find you.
Oh, all over. So they can either go directly to our website, which is dnapal.me, or they can find us on Instagram, Facebook. Cool. Send us a DM if they have questions. We're happy to answer. We're always answering things. So really happy to.
But we still have our own.
He loves talking.
He always has something. Tell us, Vicky. Give
it. He loves talking.
All right.
Tell us.
No, I'm saying people must call you because you love talking.
Well, going back to that, actually, the group that support your immune health. No, I can't remember what it's called. No, Second Wave.
Second Wave, support your immunity.
Vicky is constantly telling people the amount of vitamin D they should be taking, that sort of thing. So it's so it's a good resource for people. But Vicky, You're spending a lot of time telling people they need to be also honoring their health, right?
Really, really cares about, making sure that people get better, get healthier.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's probably one of my downfalls as well, because I don't know, it's something in me. If somebody asks, I just can't say no. And that's something that I'm working on in 2021, is to put my boundaries more in. And I mean that in the best place. Because some days, 2 days can go, and Kate will be like, well, what have you done for 2 days? And I'm like, I don't know. Just been on WhatsApp for 2 days. And literally just replying to, trying to help all these people as I can. And I know I need, so 2021 for me is boundaries and self-care.
Okay, good. And I think that's a very good takeaway for sure. Awesome, ladies. Well, I really appreciate it. I know you've got to move on to your next, which is pitching for a competition. Yeah, that's cool. Very exciting.
So that's going to be exciting.
We're going to wrap up episode 29 of Café Diem with Kate Scott and Vicky Godfrey, the founders of DNApal. So again, we're looking forward to getting my results and then getting back on with them so they can help me understand my results. And that is us signing out from Ibiza, saying adios. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week for a new guest. Bye.
Bye.